Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another redraft. This time I'm going to be redrafting the 2005 AFL Draft. And if you don't know how these work, I basically redraft the top 10 of every AFL draft. 2005 was a fucking long time ago, so let's have a look at some nostalgic names. Starting off in 10th place, I have got Essendon and St Kilda and Port Adelaide great ruck Patrick Ryder, who was originally drafted obviously to the Essendon Football Club at pick number 7. If he would have gone in this redraft at number 10, he would have gone to the Fremantle Football Club. Now the reason I might have Paddy Ryder a little bit lower than what you would assume I would have him, or maybe you guys would have him, is because as a ruckman, not as important to a team, and I'm trying to redraft this in a sort of way where I'm the drafter trying to choose which players I want in 1 to 10. If that makes any sense. But Patrick Ryder, in periods of years, maybe especially when he went to Port Adelaide, there were times where he was the best ruckman in the competition. He played 281 games, he got 27 Brownlow votes, nearly 200 goals, All-Australian in 2017 alongside the best and fairest in 2017. He was a phenomenal player. Moving on to 9th place, I've got a man who didn't win anything, but he was notorious for being one of the great Melbourne players in recent time. It's Nathan Jones. He originally went to Melbourne at pick number 12. If he would have gone at pick number 9 in this redraft, he would have gone to the Brisbane Lions. Now, Nathan Jones was a phenomenal servant to the Melbourne Football Club. Unfortunately missed out on that flag in 2021 where he was never really in the team, but eventually went home for like childbirth reasons. He didn't get any All-Australians or premierships, but he did get a best and fairest in 2012, 2013 and 2014. Over 300 games, 141 goals, 81 Brownlow votes, non-negotiable. He was one of Melbourne's great players in a shit side and just a shit era in general. Moving swiftly on to pick number 8, originally pick number 2 in the 2005 draft to the Collingwood Football Club, I have got Dale Thomas. Now Dale Thomas in this redraft would have gone to pick number 8 to the Richmond Tigers. I would have died for this man at my club. Although he didn't have a career that maybe a number 2 draft pick should have, he still played 258 games, kicking 155 goals, was All-Australian in 2011 and won the flag in 2010. Now before I talk a bit more about pick number 8, just to let you guys know, Fremantle at pick number 10 chose Marcus Drum, who played 22 games. Brisbane at pick number 9 chose Mitch Clark, who did play over 100 games. And then instead of picking Dale Thomas, we picked Jared Oakley-Nichols, the Richmond Tigers pick number 8, who played 13 games. So we got that pick very much wrong. Dale Thomas, known for his long bombs, the X Factor, the torpedoes, then he goes to Carlton, the rival club of Collingwood, and he still has an influential role there. But there are 7 better for me, and in 7th place, I've got the silky smooth Sha Higgins, who was originally drafted to the Western Bulldogs at pick number 11. Pick number 7 in this 2005 draft went to the Essendon Football Club. Now, I've already discussed Essendon's choice here, which was Patrick Ryder. Would they have rathered Sha Higgins? It's really up to them. They're both amazing players, but Sha Higgins, especially when he went to North Melbourne, that man was silk. The kick he had on him, the IQ, the skills, absolutely phenomenal player, playing over 260 games, 229 goals, 70 Brownlow votes, and All-Australian in 2018, 2 best and fairest, 1 in 2017 and 1 in 2018. Was a super player at many clubs, including Geelong where he ended, but unfortunately missed out on the flag for the Cats, which they won in 2022. Moving on to my 6th place, and I do have this guy really low, but I don't think the accolades really match up to his name. I have in 6th place, West Coast Eagles, Matt Priddis, who was originally drafted at pick 31 in the rookie draft. Do you know how insanely low that is? How has no one picked up on this guy? Went all the way down there. So a phenomenal pickup from the Eagles. Pick number 6 belongs to Hawthorn, so Matt Priddis could have played for the Hawthorn Football Club where he would have won more flags. Look, the reality is Matt Priddis is a Brownlow winner. It's simple as that. But even though he won the Brownlow, there's still a lot of contention whether he deserved it. Look, you must deserve the Brownlow if you win it, but he didn't even make All-Australian that year. He was an amazing tackler and an amazing defensive midfielder, but I never really watched him and thought Brownlow winner. And that's sort of why I have him a little bit lower. He played over 240 games. He was a phenomenal player, but unfortunately for me, there are just a lot, well, not a lot, there are 5 better in this redraft. Now, before I get into my top 5, I'm going to quickly shoot through some honourable mentions of players that really should have made this, but just for me, just miss out. Xavier Ellis won the flag for Hawthorn, but unfortunately he doesn't make it. Travis Farco played over 230 games, won the premiership in 2009 and 2011 for Geelong, and had a great career afterwards at Collingwood. He just misses out, probably my 11th place. Him or maybe Richard Douglas, who just missed out on 250 games, 246 games for the Adelaide Crows, the best and fairest in 2010. Both those players were amazing, but just don't make this redraft because 2005 was an insanely strong draft. Bernie Vince, 229 games, 2 best and fairest. Unfortunately, he misses out as well, as does St Kilda's Sam Gilbert, who was an outstanding defender. Andrew Swallow for the North Melbourne Football Club, 224 games played, 3 best and fairest. Unfortunately, he doesn't make it. In fact, he could arguably be the most unfortunate to miss out. Joel Patfull, 220 games, 2 best and fairest, also very unlucky to miss out, as is Matthew Stokes, who played 200 games on the dot and won the 2 flags for Geelong in 2007 and 2011. Not sure what happened in 2009. But that just shows you how strong this draft is. The fact all those players have missed out on my top 10 and their only honourable mentions is insane. Let's get into the top 5 now. In 5th place, I have got rock solid defender Grant Birchall, who was originally picked at pick number 14 by the Hawthorn Football Club. Pick number 5 belonged to the Collingwood Football Club. Now, they chose a man I'll get to in a second. And really quick, at pick number 6, Hawthorn chose Bo Dowler, who played 16 games, so that was a stinky pick by Hawthorn. But picking Birchall at 14 was not a stinky pick. That is an outrageously good steal. Even though 14 is still high, Birchall, so underrated. His career and his influence and the defensive attributes and just skills he had in that back line is part of the reason he won 4 flags. Like I said, Premiership in 08, 13, 14, 15, All-Australian in 2012. He was insanely underrated, and just because he played in such a strong Hawthorn side, he doesn't get the plaudits he deserves. I honestly think he's not too far off the likes of Hodge, Lewis, those types of players. But unfortunately, he doesn't make my top 4. In 4th place, he's played over 300 games for the West Coast Eagles, a captain as well, and being a leader is something I really value in these redrafts. He is Shannon Hearn, who was originally picked at pick number 13 to the West Coast Eagles. Pick number 4 belongs to Carlton in this redraft, who chose a man I will get into a little bit later. But let's first acknowledge Shannon fucking Hearn. The long bomb, he kicked how many goals outside 50, 60, 70 meters? His kick was absolutely insane. 333 games, only 2 All-Australians in 2018 and 2019, and the flag in 2018 as a premiership captain is arguably one of the great things you can achieve in sport. Could be higher, in fact, arguably deserves top 3, but unfortunately there's some outrageously good players in this top 3. I love watching Shannon Hearn. I thought he was an amazing player, awfully skillful and outrageously strong as well. Even though his hairline was lacking, everything else about his skills and football IQ was not. Sorry, I've done him a little bit dirty there. Let's move on to my top 3. In 3rd place, I've got the original number 1 draft pick from this 2005 draft. It is Mark Murphy, who obviously went to Carlton and didn't quite win anything because Carlton was shit for so long throughout the years he was in his prime. But pick number 3 belongs to Hawthorn Football Club, who did choose Xavier Ellis. They would have much rathered Mark Murphy, even though Ellis did win the flag with them. Mark fucking Murphy, 300 games on the dot, 197 goals, 114 Brownlow votes. He won the All-Australian in 2011, AFL-CIO Player of the Year in 2011 as well, Best and Fairest in 2011 and 2017. And although there's no flag to his name, he was a captain as well for many games, and he was the shining light, a little bit like Nathan Jones, for a club that was so shit for so long in the Carlton Football Club. And because of that, he doesn't deserve to go higher. Come to think of it, I might have rather Shannon Hearn and Birchall maybe ahead of Mark Murphy, but I've done it now. I'm going to stick with him in 3rd place. And let's get into my top 2, because 1 and 2 are arguably top 10 players to the last 20 years. In 2nd place, many might forget, but he was drafted to Carlton, not where he's known for at the West Coast Eagles. I've got the high-flying, the multiple Coleman-winning medalist, Josh Kennedy, who went to Carlton at pick number 4. Pick number 2 belonged to the Collingwood Football Club, who did choose Dale Thomas. Now, Josh Kennedy was part of the most famous trade in modern history between Carlton and West Coast Eagles, where Carlton said, "Give me Chris Judd," and then West Coast said, "Give me Josh Kennedy." Who won that trade? I still think just West Coast. But what a career Josh Kennedy had. Influential for that 2018 flag for the West Coast Eagles. All-Australian in 2015, 16, 17. Coleman medalist in 2015 and 16. And in those prime eras, the prime years of the West Coast Eagles, he was outstanding. Him and Jack Darling made a great partnership. And unfortunately, because number 1 exists, he can't go any higher. But he is in the debate. Look, let's talk about it this way. Lance Franklin is head and shoulders above everyone else, but there's a pack behind, which is Tom Hawkins, Jack Riewoldt, Nick Riewoldt, Fev, Jonathan Brown, Matty Lloyd, and then in there is also Josh Kennedy for me. And let's get into my number 1 now. Let's not leave you hanging for much longer. I'm going to say it as it is. I've got Scott Pendlebury, who was originally drafted to Collingwood at pick number 5. Number 1, obviously, was Mark Murphy in this redraft, so Pendlebury could have gone to Carlton. Carlton fans, yes, you got Murphy, but imagine if you got Pendles instead. Now, I'm going to glaze Scott Pendlebury for a bit here, so just bear with me. Scott Pendlebury has played, at the time I released this, 400 games, hopefully. 200 goals or over 200 goals, over 221 Brownlow votes. All-Australian in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014 and 2019, which is insanity. AFL Player of the Year in 2013. Best and fairest in 2011 and 2013 and 2014 and 2015 and 2016. It keeps going. Norm Smith in 2010. AFL Young Player of the Year in 2007. Made the All-Australian 40, which isn't really an accolade, but we'll still mention it in 2009 and 2015 and 2016 and 2018 and 2020. And finally, 2 flags for Collingwood, one in 2010 and one in 2023. Was a captain for Collingwood for many years as well. For me, arguably the greatest captain in my time living. Him or Joel Selwood. I prefer Scott Pendlebury. Look, the reality is, when you look at all these players from the draft in isolation, or not even in isolation, just generally speaking, look at their attributes. Nobody else has the attribute, the football skill of slowing down time. Do you like what I did there? I slowed down time. Scott Pendlebury had that innate ability to just pause. Everything paused when he got the ball. He was calm. He always made the right decision, and he still does, even though he's aging like fine wine. It's scary to see how good he is. It's scary to see that even though he's dimming a bit, I guess, or was that even the right word? Dipping a bit in form, sorry. He's still having these games where he just reminds you how good he is. He's gonna break the games record, and I hope he does, to be honest, because nobody deserves that games record more than Scott Pendlebury. And yes, it's looking unlikely he'll ever win a flag again. It doesn't matter, because the accolades this guy has already is insanity. He will go down as one of Collingwood's greatest players of all time, and he will go down as the top 5 maybe players in the 21st century. That's actually quite a good debate. I think Buddy, Dustin Martin, Gary Ablett, and maybe 5 Dangerous, Selwood or Pendles is the next of those. I love watching him, even though I'm a Richmond fan and I hate every Collingwood thing that's ever existed. I do love watching Scott Pendlebury play, and I hate to say it, but when he does play, I actually want him to do well. One of the few Collingwood players I've ever liked. But that is my 2005 redraft. You can see on the screen. Let me know in the comments what your redraft would be if you had to do a top 10. Like I said, insanely unlucky players to miss out on this top 10. Check out all my redrafts on my channel. I've done loads. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the TikTok FTFooty, and I'll be seeing you in another video.